British Airways business class on the Boeing 777. Let's fly together. Hello and welcome back to Non-Stop Flight Reviews, and this is a flight review of British Airways business class on their Boeing 777. It should be a nice flight, so let's get started. By the way, this was filmed way before the pandemic that's happening around the world right now, so I don't recommend any unnecessary travel at the moment. Anyways, first of all, I checked in, of course, and obviously there was a priority lane for Club World passengers. And then after checking in, I went straight to the launch. However, the launch was actually quite far away from the gate. It was in this little alley, I should call it, next to the security, which isn't where you normally find other lounges. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Luckily, boarding wasn't until 11:05, and it was only 8:47. Thus, I did indeed have quite some time to enjoy the launch. British Airways used the Qantas launch here at Hong Kong, which was actually a pretty decent launch in general. As you may have already noticed, it was a huge launch. The food options were great as well, as you can see, from fruit to hot dishes. Soon I headed to the gate, and as I have said already, it was a pretty long way. Sadly, for some reason, Club World passengers didn't have priority boarding. However, after some time, I eventually boarded the plane. Boarding the plane, the first thing I realized was how crowded the cabin was, but that shouldn't be a surprise as the cabin was laid in a 242 configuration. So this was my seat, and as you can see, it is pretty tight for a business class seat. As I have already mentioned, the cabin was laid in an unusual 242 configuration. The amenities kit was on the seat already when I arrived, and as you can see, it was exclusively made for the 100th anniversary for British Airways. Noise cancelling headphones were on the seat as well. And they were extremely nice. One of the first things I noticed was its lack of storage spaces. As you can see, this was pretty much the one and only storage compartment of the entire seat, which was meant for your shoes. However, they did improve on that on their new business class product. The welcome drink was served soon, but I just went for a glass of water. Now, for a quick tour of the seat. I have to mention the legroom was decent, and to the right of my legs were pretty much the only storage compartment of the entire seat. And then above that was where the safety card was placed. And above that was, of course, the foldable tray table, which could be moved like this. And that's the only place where I think it's possible to put your personal belongings. And as you can see, the screen could be deployed like this. And the control panel was right next to you as well as the controller for the IFE system. Underneath that was some plugs, and then to the left of that was the headphone jack. And of course, right at the bottom of the seat were some inconveniently placed plugs. Now let's take a look at what's inside the amenities kit. The stuff inside the amenities kit were pretty basic, which were like socks, eye masks, lotions and lip balms, etc. There was also a breakfast card that you had to fill in. There was a light as well, which could be adjusted like this. A bottle of water was handed to everybody just before departure as well. We just took off and there were precisely 12 hours and 51 minutes left of the flight. One of the worst things about this seat, as I have already mentioned, was the lack of storage space. As you can see, the tray table has to be stowed for takeoff and landing, so during takeoff I had to put everything on my lap, which wasn't that convenient at all. Another bad thing about the seat was that during takeoff and landing, you had to look directly in the eyes of your next door neighbor. However, after takeoff, he acted first and deployed the privacy screen. Now moving to the good part of the seat. There was also this thing in front of you which you could put down and it would act like a footrest. And when you want to put your seat into bed mode, it would also be the bottom part of the bed. Now this is a look at the in-flight menu. Meal service started with a hot towel as well as some nuts with a drink, which I went for ginger ale. Then came the soup with some bread and salad. For mains I went for the duck breast, which actually tasted pretty decent despite it not looking that well. And of course the meal service ended with a nice cheese platter. Now let's take a look of the in-flight entertainment system. It wasn't the best in terms of responsiveness, and it was also pretty slow. However, the movie selection was pretty good. After a few hours in the flight, I decided to get some rest, and here is what the life that bed looks like. there was a privacy screen which you can pull out in between you and your seat neighbor if you have one of the middle seats. There were quite some room above her head and around her legs. However, another bad thing about a seat is that you couldn't move your legs up and down while you are in bed mode, as the tray table, as I have already mentioned quite a few times, was the only place where you could put your personal belongings. Anyways, after a few hours of nice sleep, breakfast was served. It started with a nice fruit platter, and then came some sausages with scrambled eggs, etc. So now, this is how it feels if you got an aisle seat. First of all, the privacy wasn't good at all, as you can see. However, the thing that was good was that you got a lot of space for your legs. So that was it, guys. Yeah, it was a pretty decent flight in general, despite the seat not being that good, but the service, the food and everything was brilliant. It probably deserves a flight rating of 7 out of 10. However, the only issue was actually the seat itself, and there wasn't that much problem apart from the seat. So yeah, the seat was basically the thing that's rating down the most. However, they did improve on the seat a lot on their new aircraft. Yeah, with their new business class product, which isn't that much of a problem now. Anyways, guys, that's the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please turn on post notifications so you'll get notified whenever my newest video gets uploaded. New uploads every Tuesday, and yeah, see you in the next video.